Intelligence is often seen as the ultimate advantage. People believe that being smart, articulate, and well-informed will lead to respect, influence, and success. We are told to showcase our knowledge, assert our opinions, and prove our worth through intellect. But what if this belief is flawed? What if, in many cases, intelligence does not grant power, but instead makes life more difficult? What if, paradoxically, the smartest move is to appear less intelligent than you truly are? Arthur Schopenhauer, the German philosopher known for his brutal honesty about human nature, understood this well. He did not see intelligence as an automatic advantage in social life. Instead, he recognized that intelligence often isolates individuals, makes them a target of envy, and creates unnecessary friction with those who do not think as deeply. The world, he argued, is not a place where intelligence is always rewarded. More often than not, it is punished. In his philosophy, Schopenhauer described human interactions as a constant struggle for dominance, ego, and self-interest. He believed that most people are driven not by the pursuit of truth or wisdom, but by their own desires, insecurities, and need for validation. Those who openly display their intelligence often threaten the egos of others. They expose flaws in logic, challenge assumptions, and make people feel inadequate, often without intending to. The result? Resentment, hostility, and exclusion. This is why Schopenhauer suggested that, in many situations, it is wiser to play dumb. Not in the sense of being ignorant, but in the sense of strategic underestimation. There is power in letting others believe they are smarter than you. It disarms their defenses, puts them at ease, and allows you to navigate social situations with far less resistance. By appearing less threatening, you avoid unnecessary conflict and gain access to information, opportunities, and influence that would otherwise be denied to you. Think of it this way. Intelligence, when wielded too openly, can act like a bright light in a dark room. Instead of illuminating others, it blinds them, causing discomfort and resistance. But when used strategically, when dimmed just enough, it can guide you toward greater control over your environment. Schopenhauer understood that in a world dominated by ego and competition, subtlety is often a greater tool than brute intellect. This does not mean suppressing your intelligence permanently. Rather, it means knowing when to reveal it and when to hold back. There are moments when proving a point is beneficial, when asserting knowledge is necessary, but in many cases, allowing others to feel superior can be the key to achieving your real objectives. If someone believes they are smarter than you, they let their guard down. They become more open, more revealing, and less defensive, and in this state they often expose their true intentions, weaknesses, and motivations. Schopenhauer's insight into human nature was not born from idealism, but from realism. He saw life not as a fair system where intelligence is always rewarded, but as a battlefield where social maneuvering often matters more than pure intellect. Playing dumb, then, is not about self-deception. It is about understanding the mechanics of human interaction and using them to your advantage. To understand why playing dumb is such a powerful strategy, we need to look at the psychological dynamics that govern human relationships. Most people operate on a simple principle. They like feeling competent, respected, and in control. The moment they sense that someone is intellectually superior, they often react in one of two ways, either with admiration or with resentment. Unfortunately, admiration is rare, while resentment is common. Schopenhauer observed that the world is not a meritocracy where intelligence is consistently rewarded. Instead, social life is dictated by status, perception, and power. People are less concerned with the truth and more concerned with how they are perceived in relation to others. When you openly display superior intelligence, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy in those around you. Instead of listening to what you have to say, they focus on their own bruised ego. Instead of appreciating your insights, they feel the need to reassert their own importance. This is why playing dumb can be a remarkably effective social tool. By allowing others to believe they are the smartest person in the room, you eliminate resistance. You let them feel validated, comfortable, and in control of the conversation. And once they are at ease, they are far more likely to reveal their true thoughts, intentions, and weaknesses. Consider a business setting. If you enter a negotiation and immediately assert your intelligence, the other party may feel defensive, guarded, or even hostile. They may try to outmaneuver you, not because it benefits them, but simply because they feel the need to prove themselves. But if you play slightly ignorant, asking simple questions instead of making bold statements, you invite them to explain, to share more, to let their guard down. They may underestimate you, thinking they have the upper hand, which in turn allows you to gather information and make better strategic decisions. The same principle applies in personal relationships. People enjoy being the expert, the authority, the one who holds knowledge. If you constantly correct them, challenge them, or prove them wrong, they will eventually resent you, no matter how correct you may be. But if you allow them to explain, to feel like they are teaching you something, they will be more inclined to trust you, to open up, and to see you as an ally rather than a competitor. This approach is not about deception, it is about social intelligence. Playing dumb does not mean suppressing your intelligence forever. It means knowing when to let others take the lead and when to assert your own knowledge. There is a reason the wisest leaders in history rarely flaunted their intelligence. Instead, they listened. They asked questions. They allowed others to underestimate them, knowing full well that control often lies not with the person who speaks the most, but with the person who observes the most. Schopenhauer recognized that in a world driven by competition, sometimes the best way to win is not to fight, but to step aside and let others reveal themselves. He understood that power is not always about domination. It is often about subtlety, patience, and restraint. By appearing less threatening, you gain an advantage. By letting others talk, you learn more. And by holding back your full intelligence, you prevent unnecessary resistance. But this strategy comes with a challenge. How do you ensure that playing dumb does not turn into genuine self-limitation? How do you balance humility with confidence, subtlety with assertion? The danger of playing dumb is that if taken too far, it can become more than just a strategy, it can become a habit. What starts as a tactical approach to dealing with fragile egos and social power dynamics can slowly erode your own intellectual confidence. If you constantly suppress your intelligence to make others feel comfortable, you may begin to internalize the act, diluting your own ability to think and speak freely. Schopenhauer, despite advocating for discretion, also warned against the suppression of one's intellectual nature, emphasizing that intelligence should serve as a guiding force, not something to be buried for the sake of appeasement. The key to mastering this strategy lies in knowing when to use it and when to abandon it. Not every situation requires playing dumb. If you never assert your intelligence, you risk being overlooked, underestimated, and even taken advantage of. There are moments where your knowledge and insight must shine, where you must prove your capability, whether it's in your career, personal relationships, or intellectual debates. This is why Schopenhauer's approach was not about intellectual submission, but about selective display. It was about timing. A strategic individual knows that knowledge is like a weapon. It is most effective when used at the right moment. If you reveal all your strengths at once, others can prepare, resist, or even steal your insights. But if you hold back, revealing only what is necessary, you retain an element of unpredictability, a layer of control that allows you to influence without confrontation. Think about it in terms of chess. A skilled player does not rush to show their strategy. They maneuver carefully, making small, unthreatening moves, allowing their opponent to feel comfortable, but at the right moment, they strike. The same applies to intelligence. If you assert yourself too soon, people will raise their defenses, but if you allow them to underestimate you, you gain the advantage of surprise. You can observe, gather information, and choose the moment where your intelligence will have the most impact. Another risk in playing dumb is that you might attract the wrong people. If you downplay your intelligence too much, you may find yourself surrounded by those who lack depth, ambition, or curiosity, people who feel validated by your silence rather than challenged by your insight. Over time, this can create an intellectual stagnation. If the people around you do not push you to grow, if they do not challenge your ideas or engage in meaningful discourse, you may slowly become a shadow of your true potential. Schopenhauer would argue that the ideal balance is found in being discerning about where and when you reveal your intellect. In environments where intelligence is valued, it should be displayed confidently. In situations where it may provoke hostility or resentment, subtlety is the better choice. But never should intelligence be fully hidden or abandoned for the sake of social comfort. The goal is not to become permanently underestimated, but to remain unpredictable, ensuring that your mind remains sharp while still navigating the egos and insecurities of others. This delicate balance between subtlety and assertion is what separates those who simply possess intelligence from those who know how to use it effectively. True wisdom is not about proving yourself at every opportunity, but about knowing when your intelligence serves a purpose and when it is best to let others reveal themselves. Mastering the art of playing dumb is not just about social maneuvering, it's also about long-term strategy. Schopenhauer understood that intelligence, when openly displayed, often provokes resistance. People resist being corrected, outshined, or made to feel inadequate. But what if your goal is not just to navigate social situations, but to build real influence, to achieve lasting success, and to ensure that your intelligence works for you rather than against you? The ability to restrain yourself intellectually can be one of the most powerful assets in your career and personal growth. Many people assume that the most talented individuals will automatically rise to the top, but in reality, the world does not always reward intelligence. It rewards intelligence combined with patience, timing, and adaptability. If you reveal your capabilities too soon or too forcefully, you may trigger resentment from those in positions of power. Instead of being recognized for your abilities, you may find yourself excluded, sabotaged, or seen as a threat. History is filled with examples of individuals who understood the importance of appearing unthreatening while working silently toward their goals. Those who do not flaunt their intelligence often gain access to spaces where more overtly ambitious individuals would be blocked. They are allowed to observe, learn, and develop strategies that will ultimately place them ahead of those who are too eager to prove themselves from the start. Schopenhauer would argue that true intelligence is not just about what you know, but about how you use what you know to navigate a world that is often resistant to real change or disruption. However, this strategy also comes with risks. The longer you play dumb, the more you may start to believe your own performance. This is the paradox of self-restraint. If you consistently hold back, you may weaken your own intellectual drive. There is a fine line between being strategic and losing touch with your own potential. To avoid this, you must cultivate an internal space where your mind remains sharp, challenged, and continuously growing, even if externally you are playing a different role. This is why Schopenhauer emphasized the importance of solitude and intellectual independence. The time you spend away from social games should be spent refining your knowledge, developing your skills, and pushing the limits of your thinking. While the world may see someone who is reserved or even indifferent, beneath the surface, you should be constructing a mind that is formidable, one that sees patterns others miss, one that is prepared to act decisively when the moment is right. Playing dumb is not about suppressing intelligence, but about controlling when and where it is revealed. The best strategists throughout history have understood this. They have built their power by allowing others to underestimate them, by watching silently as rivals expose their weaknesses, and by waiting patiently for the perfect opportunity to assert themselves. If you speak too soon, if you insist on proving your intelligence at every turn, you lose this advantage. You become predictable. You become easy to counter. But if you wait, if you allow others to reveal their intentions, if you quietly gather knowledge and position yourself carefully, you create the conditions for an impact that cannot be ignored. The greatest minds do not need to announce their intelligence. They let their actions speak for them when the time is right. Playing dumb is an art, but it is also a test of patience, discipline, and long-term vision. It is not about deception for deception's sake, nor is it about suppressing your intelligence indefinitely. It is about understanding when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. Schopenhauer's philosophy reminds us that the world is often hostile to those who think deeply and see clearly. But rather than fight against this reality head-on, the wise learn to maneuver within it, choosing their battles carefully. The key to mastering this strategy is knowing how to transition from restraint to action. Many people make the mistake of playing dumb indefinitely, assuming that staying underestimated is the ultimate goal. But staying hidden forever means missing out on opportunities to make an impact. The real goal is to strike at the right moment. This requires the ability to read situations, anticipate reactions, and understand the dynamics of power and influence. Schopenhauer believed that true wisdom lies in knowing when to use intelligence as a weapon and when to use it as a shield. If you constantly assert your intelligence, you make enemies. If you never assert it, you let opportunities slip away. The balance lies in cultivating an ability to reveal just enough to be taken seriously, while still holding back enough to remain in control of how others perceive you. This is where patience becomes your greatest ally. The ability to wait, to observe, and to move strategically rather than impulsively is what separates those who succeed from those who fall victim to their own ego. Those who cannot resist the urge to prove themselves at every turn often burn out quickly. They win short-term battles but lose the long-term war. Meanwhile, those who understand the value of restraint often find themselves in positions of influence without ever needing to fight for attention. At its core, this approach is not about manipulation. It is about self-preservation. It is about ensuring that your intelligence serves you rather than working against you. Many of history's greatest thinkers and leaders have employed this method, not because they were afraid to show their intelligence, but because they understood the nature of power and influence. They knew that those who reveal everything too soon are often discarded before they can truly make a difference. But even as you practice restraint, it is crucial to have a private space where your mind can remain sharp. Schopenhauer often retreated into solitude, using his time alone to develop ideas and refine his understanding of the world. He recognized that the mind needs both stimulation and quiet. It needs exposure to challenges, but also space to process them without external interference. This is why cultivating intellectual independence is essential. While the world may see you as someone who is indifferent, modest, or even naive, your inner world should be rich with learning, growth, and deep thinking. Playing dumb is only useful if, beneath the surface, you are constantly sharpening your awareness, building your knowledge, and preparing for the moments when you will need to reveal your true intelligence. Ultimately, Schopenhauer's philosophy teaches us that intelligence is not just about what you know. It is about how you apply that knowledge in a world that often resists it. The goal is not to suppress your intelligence, but to wield it with precision. Those who understand this move through life differently. They do not waste energy on proving themselves to those who do not matter. They do not seek validation from those who will never understand them. Instead, they build their power quietly, choosing the right moment to reveal their full potential. And when that moment comes, they do not need to convince anyone of their intelligence. It becomes self-evident.